All right, let's just jump right in. If you're a real estate investor, I want to talk about a massive, completely quiet expense that is probably hiding right inside your pro forma as we speak. It's not your taxes, and it's not insurance. It's rental turnover. Turnover is literally the single largest controllable expense in your portfolio, and unfortunately, it's the one most owners never actually bother to put on a spreadsheet. $2,500 to $4,500. I know, ouch, right? But that is the true all-in cost of a typical Class B single-family rental turnover in Kansas City right now. It usually hides inside vague line items like maintenance or repairs, and it quietly just eats an entire year of cash flow every single time a resident moves out. So in this explainer, we're going to cover 1. The true cost, 2. The invisible expense, 3. The math of retention, 4. Submarket shifts, 5. The playbook, and 6. Strategic upgrades.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the true cost.
When a tenant moves out, most owners instantly obsess over the physical make-ready. The paint, the deep clean, getting it looking good. But by doing that, we're completely ignoring 2 massive, silent budget killers: the leasing fee to fill the unit again, and the lost rent while it just sits there empty. Those are the hidden costs that cause a turnover to absolutely blow past your budget. If you ignore them, well, you're missing the whole picture. Let's actually break down a real make-ready ledger for a typical 2 to 3 bedroom home. The ranges are pretty wild. Paint can run anywhere from $400 all the way up to $2,200. But I really want you to think about the bottom line here. Even on a supposedly cheap turn, where you don't even have to replace any flooring, you still stack up $250 to $500 in deep cleaning, a $500 minimum lease-up fee, and $600 to $2,000 in lost rent. That's $1,500 right out the door before a single wall is even painted. So yeah, the cheap turn is rarely as cheap as your spreadsheet assumes. Now, flooring. Flooring is the ultimate swing factor. If we look back at those ranges, replacing carpet or LVP can cost anywhere from $900 to $3,000. It is the absolute biggest variable separating a totally manageable $2,000 turn from a $6,000 disaster. And that is exactly why strict pet policies and really rigorous upfront screening are absolutely critical to your bottom line.
Moving right along to Section 2, the invisible expense.
$1,200. Think about that for a second. If you've got a rental priced at $1,300 a month, cutting your vacancy time from 6 weeks down to 2 saves you roughly $1,200 in lost rent. That savings alone usually pays for the entire paint and cleaning bill. The timeline is your most expensive line item, precisely because you can't see it on a contractor's invoice. Every extra week that house sits empty is pure profit gone. So how do the pros fix this? Simple sequencing. Instead of waiting for a tenant to leave, the clock starts on day 1, the exact minute notice is given. You want vendors booked in week 1, before the tenant even packs their boxes. Then, when the physical make-ready begins in week 2, you're aggressively overlapping marketing and showings while the paint is literally still drying in week 3. By overlapping the marketing with the repair timeline, professional managers are keeping their vacancy near a 14-day average. Which brings us to Section 3, the math of retention. Okay, here is the ultimate plot twist. The absolute best way to manage turnover costs? Don't have one. To keep a resident on a standard renewal program, it costs roughly $325. But to replace them, try $3,000 minimum. This is exactly why pushing a standard $75 rent increase can backfire horribly. Sure, you might net $900 over the year, but if that increase gets them to pack up and leave, you just triggered a $3,000 turn that entirely erases years of cash flow gains. Retention is simply the highest return move you can make, hands down. Let's dive into Section 4, submarket shifts. Your budget is going to look wildly different depending on the neighborhood. Take older cash flow submarkets like Independence or Raytown. The finishes are cheaper, sure, but your hidden repair risk is incredibly high. You might pull up a floor and find a failing ancient furnace or a bad sewer lateral. Contrast that with newer suburban markets like Overland Park. The per-item finishes are expensive because tenant expectations are higher, but they lease incredibly fast, so your vacancy math is much friendlier. Remote owners, take note here. Budget a lower dollar turn but a much higher surprise risk on older stock and the exact reverse on your newer suburban stock. Let's pivot to solutions in Section 5, the playbook. Let's put the power back in your hands. Step 1, front-end screening. The cheapest turn is the one that happens in year 4 instead of year 1. Step 2, mid-lease inspections. Catching a slow $200 leak at month 6 is infinitely better than discovering a $3,000 flooring disaster at move-out. Step 3, overlap marketing. Just like we discussed earlier, list it the day they give notice. Step 4, volume vendor pricing. Leveraging your repeat business pulls your physical make-ready costs way down. And finally, step 5, deposit deduction documentation. Clean, airtight documentation allows you to legally offset damages beyond normal wear and tear. Snap these 5 levers together, and you're going to stop that quiet cash leak across your portfolio. And finally, Section 6, strategic upgrades. There's a great quote from Marcus Painter I love. He says, "If the comps cap the rent, a luxury make-ready is a donation, not an investment." Look, sometimes stepping up the finishes can attract long-term residents and stop a cycle of constant churn. But if you're pouring a luxury capital into a heavy cash flow unit on a soft block where the comparables just will not support a higher rent, you are completely wasting your money. Do the clean, functional turn and save that capital for a property where the market will actually pay you back for it.
So if there is one number I really want you to take home today, it's $1,300. As a concrete rule of thumb for a Kansas City Class B single-family home, you should be reserving 1 month of rent, so roughly $1,300 per unit per year, specifically banked to absorb the inevitable shock of a turnover. Turns do not politely space themselves out for your convenience. By banking this reserve annually, you smooth out the financial hit in the exact year it actually lands.
I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative question to chew on. Are your turnovers scheduled events, or are they financial crises? Owners who skip reserving funds feel every single turn as a total emergency. But by understanding the true hidden costs, aggressively overlapping your timelines, and banking the right reserves, you actually have the power to transform a crisis into a fully managed, scheduled event. Take a hard look at your own portfolio management today and see where you can implement these professional safeguards. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning out there.